Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of Denver Green Living. I'm so excited today because we get to talk with my friend and somebody I admire a lot, which is Becky Migas. And Becky is the founder of Women in Sustainability. And before we dive in there, I just want to let you know if you're new to the channel, Denver Green Living is all about ways that you can make a positive environmental impact and be part of the community. And so that's really what we're going to be talking about today is the Women in Sustainability group and how you can volunteer with them, how you can, if you're feeling kind of isolated, you're wondering what the heck is going on in this world and feeling a little depressed or lonely and just want to get out and do something, then this is an awesome group. I've been so lucky to be a founding member and be able to participate in, gosh, I feel like so many things, but only a fraction of all the options that are there. So that's why I wanted to bring Becky on to tell us a little bit about women and sustainability. But before we do that, Becky, how about give us a little intro about yourself and how did you come into this role of leading women in sustainability?
Yeah, hi Joan. Hello everybody. Thank you for joining us and for being here. I am so thrilled to be having this conversation today. I, of course, think community and volunteering is so valuable and important in today's society. So, thank you to Joan for bringing me on to have this conversation. So, I got started. I've had a big passion for sustainability for long time. I've come from working in the event sector. I've been producing concerts for over 15 years and just have seen how horrendous events are to the environment and wanted to do something more. And 2018, when my full-time job, there was some changes that were being made and I decided I needed to have a change myself. And so I left my job. I had no idea what I was doing at that point, but I just took a leap and I left. And the scariest decision I ever made at that time, the best decision I ever made today in my life. And it has really taken me down this path as I got to explore myself and what I wanted to do in my career. I was building my own community. I was going out and networking and I was meeting people and I was having an opportunity to hear what all these amazing people, mainly women, were doing in sustainability in so many different aspects. And so one day I just woke up and said, you know what? We all need to be in a room together. There's so many amazing things that are happening. Why are we all not talking and collaborating and empowering and supporting each other? And so that's what we did. In 2019, we had our first Women in Sustainability meetup. Wasn't called that. It was just, hey, let's come together and hang out. After that event, people asked to continue the conversation. And so we did. And we created a Facebook group that has just grown over the last 2 years. And as Joan had mentioned, we continue to do many events in person and virtual to be able to connect community members together.
Yeah, that's so wonderful. And so Becky, so women in sustainability, so as you said, it came about very organically, which is a great word. Just as something that seemed to be needed. Why why did you start it as why did you decide to make it a 501c3 and what is your mission? Is it just Colorado? Is it beyond? Can men participate? Like what's tell us a little bit about how you would describe women in sustainability now.
Yeah, that is a great question. Thank you, Joan. And I apologize. I have a cat that likes to chat and she's hearing me talk. And so she wants to be part of the conversation too. But and we're all inclusive here at Women in Sustainability. So we just got our 501c3, as Joan mentioned, late last year. And it was a conversation between my business partner, Beth Birchfield, and I. We really wanted to have an opportunity to grow this community. And we knew that we needed funding and decided that 501c3 was the best route for us. Our goal over the next 3 to 5 years is to actually build this nationwide. We see this as having chapters all across the US, not just building communities in Colorado, but also building communities all throughout where we can continue to connect and have really important conversations with each other. So we are launching our first chapter in Denver, Colorado. We hope to have chapters throughout Colorado within the next year, year and a half, and then be able to grow from there. So if you're in another state listening, we're coming your way soon, I hope. And as Joan had mentioned, we are all inclusive. Yes, we say women in sustainability, but the women part is really looking at it from women's viewpoint and women's leadership. We are working to empower women to be the leaders and the decision makers in the environmental and sustainability space. And we do welcome everybody into our community. So if you are a male or non-binary, come join the conversation as well. We want everyone to not just be a part of our community, but be heard, to feel welcome, and to be safe. And we really truly believe that that's going to be a big part as we move to the future, is how we ensuring that all voices are included. And that's what we work hard on, is to create that diverse community.
I think that myself starting in energy efficiency and sustainability back in, so I graduated from college 1982, and when I went into college 1978, I said I want to do solar, and they said you need to do engineering, and I was like, wait, is that? And I think that actually kind of shows how the more kind of male dominated perspective of that it was like engineering was the answer, the only answer that I knew of. And it wasn't until I started kind of accidentally starting environmental nonprofits and doing more community organizing, that I started to see this other way. But it wasn't even visible to me. Maybe it's because my dad was an engineer, but when I went to college, they didn't say, oh, how about getting into community organizing or something, as a power path. And so I do think that this, the idea of having women in leadership in this role does bring something as the more maybe nurturing community focus. And as we just saw right now with the Roe versus Wade being overturned, this was a decision mainly made by men voting in, mostly men, to make decisions about other people. What do you think it is, Becky, about women in leadership? Why do you think that's important, and how do you think that women in sustainability goes about things different, maybe than some other environmental groups?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there, Joan. It's the nurturing part, right? Like, it is known that women are more nurturing. We connect more with the environment. We're able to have that way of being able to read and listen to the environment. We're able to nurture. My friend Jen Ewan, who works for the Pledgettes, who is one of our members, she talks about, also when we give money and power to women, they redistribute it to other people and to not necessarily keep it or use it for their own will or their own good. Women tend to use their power to help and support others. And to, I didn't answer the question on what our mission is. So with women in sustainability, we are about caring for the people that care for the planet. And we do that through our four main pillars of community, advocacy, resources, and education. So care is our main motto. It's how do we care about people? How do we care about the planet? How do we care about animals? How do we care about the future? And we look at everything through those four pillars, to be able to support our community, to be able to nurture them, and to be able to understand and hear and read what's happening in the community. You mentioned Roe and Roe versus Wade being overturned, and we can feel the community when things are happening. When IPCC, excuse me, I can't say it, IPCC report came out last year and just delivered this devastating news. people in the community were heavy, and we could feel that. And so it's opportunities that we can see and read and hear our community, and we listen, and we hope to be able to say it's okay to take a step back. It's okay to breathe. It's okay to take time for you and that mental health that you need today. We can continue the work tomorrow. And just giving that opportunity for people to hear that self-care and that self um, awareness, I think, is what women really provide in the way of leadership and value.
Yeah. And I think that leads also to the idea of doing things in community. Like I remember hearing a story about women that were going, getting their water together, and someone came in and put in again, an engineering solution. And then it kind of, that community time was gone. I mean, they put in like a central water pump. And I think that's the thing, is that what I really admire about women in sustainability is that there are a lot of opportunities to just do things together
Mm-hmm.
that are not from your job. You have, certain skills, certain roles, certain assignments. But I feel like with women in sustainability, I've had such an opportunity to go do so many random things that I might not have done just on my own, and yet still made a difference in doing it. And I think also, like, that when people are feeling that kind of eco anxiety or anxiety about not being the ones in control or making decisions, that being able to take action is really cathartic, to just get together and do something. And so, what are some of the volunteer opportunities? I've got to do so many, but what are some of the volunteer opportunities that are coming up, or that you want to make sure that people know about if they decide to reach out? And I know some of these are in person, some of them are remote. So if you're in Denver, or Denver area, you can do some of the more in-person ones, but lots of them are that anybody could join.
Yeah, absolutely. And, first and foremost, we are about community, right? So that is our first pillar. And that's what we prioritize, is taking care of the community. And you're so right, Joan. It really is about having a like-minded community come together to have those conversations, to be able to just stand in a room with somebody and you don't really need to say anything. And somebody just looks at you and gives you a hug or smiles at you in a way that they just understand what you're feeling at the moment. And to allow that expression of whatever you need in that moment, whether it's grief or anxiety or sadness, or maybe it's celebration of joy that you haven't been able to share with others because your own friends don't understand what why you'd be so happy about little climate, um, goodness, good bits of news or something. But so community is important, and we do a lot of that. We do it through our social activities. So we do have just social networking events that we do. We do it through our webinars. So as you mentioned, we do still keep our things online. As we work to be an inclusive and accessible community, we will continue to find ways to connect community online with each other as we grow. And so we're always continuing to think about how can we create that online community for those that can't necessarily meet up in person. And we also do all of our volunteer events, as you're mentioning. And the volunteer events are really exciting because we get to come together, not just as a community to have the conversations, but you get to see your impact. And so we do events like working with Metro Waste, where we'll go in and help with their grocery store. They've got a grocery store that's open to those in need several days a week, and we help to keep that stock for people to come shop. We work with We Don't Waste. We love We Don't Waste. They are a food recovery program that takes all that, and they have different mobile markets. And so sometimes we'll work in their distribution center to help pack up the food for the market. Sometimes we work at the markets where we're actually helping deliver food to those that are coming through to pick up food that day. We're working on doing tree planting events. So we are all about the trees at Women in Sustainability. We plant trees for all of our speakers, and Our goal right now is to work with One Tree Planted, who is who we plant our trees with, to actually go out and get our hands dirty and be able to do that. We're hoping to get a community garden started. We are, we do park cleanup. So Joan and I have done many park cleanups together. Q-tips, Joan. I'll always just remember all the Q-tips. Um, there's a joke there, we'll tell you, I'm sure. But it's park cleanups, get out and just spend a couple hours cleaning up some trash in a park, and it just makes you feel so wonderful, and you get to have these great conversations as you're walking through doing something good for your community and good for you. And there's science behind that, right? Like there's science behind this. When you're doing something for others or for the planet, it gives you that sense of happiness and relief. And so being able to connect community through volunteer events is really valuable and important. And Joan and I were just talking a little bit earlier as well about this evening, we're even going to like an advocacy event. So there's a bill, a policy in Denver, Colorado that is working to be passed on expanded recycling services. And so there's a big group of us that are just going to go tonight and just support and hang out and just gather in community to, again, do something valuable and productive that we think will make a greater impact in the future.
And I think, what you were saying before, there's a lot of people that really do care about the environment, about community, about equity, affordability, all these really important issues. Um, but then there's other people who really aren't quite as passionate about it. And I think that's kind of what you were getting at, is that, your sisters, your friends, if you say, "Oh, I'm going to go wear a green shirt, so hopefully we can get more recycling and composting in Colorado," that there are people that are like, "That's so cool," that can really relate to you. And so if you're feeling, I know I just went through like a big real estate investment seminar that was a week long, and I was just shocked that nobody was talking about energy efficiency. They were talking about doing these different renovations, fix and flips, and it's like, wow, you're spending $100,000. You could put in a heat pump. You could make it a net zero home. You could make it a permaculture. You could grow your own food, and none of those conversations were happening in that space. And so if you're feeling like that, then I just think that women in sustainability is such a great place, because like I think one of the things that you were saying too, Becky, is that there's just so many cool organizations out there, and that's part of what I've really enjoyed about the um, the volunteering too, like the river cleanup with Patagonia and Environment Colorado and all these different groups, businesses, lawyers, and consultants that are like, yes, that's what I'm about. Um, and then We Cycle, that does the stuff for babies, and it's really neat to know that folks are out there and to be able to support them and to have fun, and you just feel good. And I think that when we're trying to attract people to the environmental movement, if we're like a really dismal bunch, like who's going to want to be part of that?
So true, right? Especially because everybody's like, oh, they're just the people who give all the doom and gloom facts. And it's like, no, like there's a lot of positive too.
Right,
There's
right.
a lot of good things.
Exactly, exactly. So how about on some of the webinars, like what are or the some of the virtual events, how do those go down, and what are some examples or something that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and thank you for noting all of the organizations we work with, because that is something that's really important to us, is collaboration. We can't do it by ourselves, right? We need to work with other people, and there's so many wonderful organizations that are already out doing incredible work in this community. We are about supporting them. How we don't need to reinvent the wheel. It's how do we go and support those that need the support. And if I'll note just real fast on the volunteer piece that I forgot to mention is that sometimes it's hard to go out and do it by yourself, or you may not feel as motivated. But if you can get a friend or you can find a community that you can go and volunteer with, it it helps you to relieve maybe some pressure or some um, fear that you have about showing up to a volunteer and being around people that you don't know. So it's always wonderful to be part of a community and go to volunteer events together. It just makes it a lot more fun. You get to meet more people, and then feel more comfortable. And as you continue to do it, you feel more and more comfortable each time. So kind of going off that collaboration piece, we also collaborate with our webinars as well. So our webinars have different aspects to it. For example, we have an event coming up that we're teaming up with a organization out of Canada called Random Acts of Green. And they're an incredible social impact organization, and they have a whole educational series around intersectional environmentalism, which is focusing on that equality piece and how those who are working in sustainability and environmentalism and climate, how we can ensure as we move forward that we're truly including all voices. And so they're doing a diversity training for us. They're offering this at no cost to nonprofits. So we're really fortunate to be teaming up with this organization. But we also look to our members of our community. What do they have expertise in and can share with our community? We have our Community Voices series, which is the fourth Wednesday of every month. And that is really an opportunity for our members to shed light on the work that they do. It is really important that we're able to lift up all these different voices in our community that are doing incredible work and share it with people. And so we're really excited to have this series, have the platform in order to bring this to an audience, to get more information out there about the work that's happening with our community members, which is kind of how we started. And then we bring in expert speakers as well. We'll do those on a quarterly basis. So watch for some really great speakers that we'll be announcing throughout the year. And we're really excited for all the people that we get to learn from, right? Like I always tell people, I don't know nearly a fraction of it, right? You talk about the engineering piece. We've got so many women who graduate with environmental sciences degree. But there's no environmental sciences job. But there's so many ways that you can engage in sustainability. And I feel like that's the fortunate part about women's sustainability is that we don't have to know everything because there's people out there that do know, and it's finding those people to come in and bring the voices so we can all learn from each other. How do we utilize each other's resources, each other's expertise, so that we can learn all these different parts and how they're all interconnected. We talk about a lot of interconnectedness through, through inclusiveness, but in sustainability, everything's interconnected. You need to talk about energy with water and air and transportation. And so instead of sitting in these silos, now we get to bring this community together, and people get to start having a bigger conversation with people who are experts or working in these fields. And it's neat to see how the conversations start to overlap. Or we'll get into some of our social events and people do introductions, and all of a sudden, as soon as the introductions are over, somebody will go, oh, I need to talk to somebody like you. Oh, I need to talk to you. Oh, wait, you are the person I was looking for. And it's just this, you just see the magic happen in just seconds. And so it's really, how can we start to look at everything as a whole instead of its own pieces?
Yeah, exactly. Right. We're modeling nature in that whole interconnectedness. And yeah, and that I think for me, the Women in Sustainability group, the Facebook group, is one of the few that I really interact in regularly. And that's how I found some of these other speakers like Nicole McSpirit, who talked about bicycle safety. And, she's the bicycle mayor of Denver.
Mm-hmm.
she, she has so much knowledge about, how,
Yeah.
like we as drivers, when you slow down, that it increases the chance of a life of a cyclist being saved. And it's like, that's so important, if you're driving 40 compared to if you're driving 20 or even 20 or 25. Um, and and so yeah, there's just so many folks, and like Dara Herman, who has helped us with a lot of the solar topic. So you can watch those videos too. And and what I've, my whole mission with this thing is to help people with their homes, to use their homes as a vehicle for making these massive changes. And I'm starting to see that happen where some of the folks that I've interviewed, somebody asks, "Hey, what do you know about permaculture?" And it's like, "Oh, check out that interview with Erin." And next thing you know, they've hired her to help them redo their lawn. And they talk about how they went and stood out in their yard and said, what does life want to do with this piece of land? And it's like, oh my gosh, it's just so beautiful and so doable and so fun and so creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just the things you learn from others. Like it's such this great opportunity to just hear the work that other people are doing. I'm so inspired every day. Last week one day I was scrolling through like LinkedIn and Facebook during lunch and just seeing from our members and seeing all the updates and seeing just what they were doing and realizing not just that, but realizing kind of what you were saying, Joan, is there was, like these three people all of a sudden that didn't know each other now know each other and they're working together and they're creating this new thing together. We've seen so many different collaborations happen just from people who have been able to come together and just meet at an event. And all of a sudden now there's something new that's happening and they're able to make things happen just a little bit faster as well. So it really is that kind of that community and that bringing those people together.
And I think like another example is Katrina Karcheski, who I also interviewed on another podcast earlier. But then she ended up doing like a seed starting workshop for a bunch of us who really don't have any background growing our own, starting our own seeds. And her as a garden coach saying it's okay, this is what happens, this is why, and and so it's helping her business as well. So I think that's the other part of it is, just from economically, we're growing these kind of holistic businesses that we really want to flourish, like a realtor who cares about energy efficiency and a garden coach and nonprofits. And the more that we flourish, the more we're able to support all these folks together. So yeah, it's
Yes.
pretty fun, and that's really why I wanted to bring you on. And so Becky, how can people get involved? What would you recommend? How could people be part of this whole thing? And maybe if they want to start chapters in their own area or somehow dive in and be participating.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Joan. And yes, like, and I want to know too, you mentioned, even with the real estate, having the conversation in the homes, I think that that's an important piece. I think, I hear so many times people will say, well, it shouldn't be up to the individuals to create change. We need government. Well, we need corporations to change. Well, it's all of it. It's not just one piece. Because a lot of the times when you get engaged and interested in your home, whether it be somebody adding solar so that they can save money on their electricity, whether it be somebody who's really wants to start composting and recycling at home. When you start those at home, that goes outside. When you go out into your companies that you work for, when you're thinking about who are you spending your money with, when you're engaging in voting, November 22nd, so everybody vote. But when you're engaging in those activities, you are taking it from your own personal space. And if you are doing and engaging in sustainability in your own space at home, then that's going to transpire to everything that you do out in the world as well. So thank you to the work that you are doing to engage and have those conversations to get people talking in their homes, because that's where it starts. And how can we get that out into the bigger world? So I just wanted to tell you that I really love the work that you're doing and so appreciative of that, because it's so valuable to that bigger conversation.
And our home is like planet Earth. Like that's the real home. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well, thank
Yes.
you. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's so great to have the opportunity to share a little bit about women in sustainability. Um, and did we tell people?
I
No, I
didn't.
think we,
Sorry,
okay,
I was blabbing first. I just had to make sure that I told you how
yeah,
appreciative I am of you too. But
I
so
appreciate that.
you can find us at womeninsustainability.org. Has a list of all of our upcoming events. And so womensustainability.org, you can find us on Facebook. We do have a Facebook group as well as a Facebook page. The group currently is under Colorado. And as we mentioned earlier, hope to grow that into several chapters throughout the US in the next 3 to 5 years. You can get a hold of me, Becky, at womeninsustainability.org. And we're also on Instagram and LinkedIn as well under Women in Sustainability. So we always say, come care with us, join the conversation. You're welcome to all of our events. We just want people to be a part of it. Some events are paid, some events are free. We do have a membership as well that you can join and just engage, be a part of the work that we're doing, be a part of the community, get to know our community members, whatever way feels best and fits best for you and your capacity, because we all know life is just a little crazy still these days. Whatever works for you, just come care with us.
Yeah. Thank you. And I think it's that collaboration. Like if you have an idea of something, wow, this would be a great group to partner with, then you're probably right. There
Yes.
probably are ways to collaborate to expand all of our impact. All right.
Yes.
Well, thanks everybody for hanging out. If you enjoyed this, then definitely give a thumbs up, like the video. If you want to know more about how you can make a positive environmental impact with your home, then think about subscribing to the channel and hit the bell so you don't miss any as we have more and more fun things coming out. I just went to the Colorado Tiny House Festival and got contact information from so many mind blowing builders and products and projects, like the Veterans Tiny Home Project in Longmont. I didn't know about that. So many fun things coming up. Hope you'll stay tuned, and if you have ideas for future videos, then reach out. And if you want to make a move, then reach out and let's make it happen. All right. So thanks so much, Becky. Have a great day, everybody. Okay.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you. Thanks, everybody.